Today I want to talk about something many of us struggle with: emotional dependency on others. I want to remind you that you are far more powerful than you realize. When we rely on others to make us feel loved, worthy, or whole, we give away that power. But it's time to take it back. It's time to stop looking outside of ourselves for the love and approval we seek. The idea that you are your own source of love is a powerful and transformative belief that can shift how you see yourself and how you interact with the world around you. Many of us grow up believing that love must come from external sources: parents, partners, friends, or society. We think that in order to feel whole, happy, and valued, we need others to love and accept us. But the truth is that real, lasting love begins from within. When you realize that you are the most reliable and abundant source of love in your life, everything changes. You stop seeking approval, validation, and worthiness from outside yourself and begin to cultivate an inner world where love is unconditional and always available. This understanding is fundamental because so many of our struggles, fears, and insecurities come from a deep sense of lack. We are often taught to believe that something is missing in us, and we spend much of our lives trying to fill that void. We look to relationships to make us feel complete, to jobs and accomplishments to give us value, or to material possessions to bring us happiness. But no matter how much we seek or acquire from the outside, these things will never truly satisfy us. That's because the only thing that can fill the emptiness we sometimes feel is the love we give to ourselves. To love yourself fully means to accept yourself as you are, with all your strengths and flaws, all your beauty and imperfections. It means recognizing that you are worthy of love simply because you exist. You don't need to earn it, prove yourself, or wait for someone else to offer it. The love you seek is already within you, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. When you begin to tap into your own source of love, it becomes easier to move through life with a sense of peace and security. You no longer need to cling to relationships that don't serve you or tolerate situations that diminish your self-worth. You understand that your happiness is not dependent on how others treat you, but on how you treat yourself. This doesn't mean you don't value love from others or enjoy companionship. Rather, it means that your well-being doesn't hinge on it. You can share love freely because you are no longer in a state of need or lack. Learning to be your own source of love is a process, and it requires daily practice. One of the most powerful tools to cultivate this inner love is through the use of affirmations, a practice that Louise passionately advocated for. By speaking positive words to yourself every day, you begin to rewire your thoughts and beliefs about yourself. You might begin by simply saying, "I love myself," or "I am enough" at first. These words may feel foreign or even untrue, but with repetition, they start to sink in. You begin to believe them, and they begin to transform how you see yourself. The mirror work that Louise taught is another profound way to connect with your own love. Stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes, and say, "I love you, do this," even if it feels uncomfortable. Over time, this practice helps you to form a deeper connection with yourself. You stop judging and criticizing your appearance or actions and start to see the person in the mirror with kindness, compassion, and acceptance. You begin to love yourself just as you would love a dear friend or a cherished partner, unconditionally and without judgment. As you grow in self-love, something miraculous happens. The relationships in your life begin to shift. Because you are no longer looking for others to fill your emotional needs, you are able to form healthier, more balanced relationships. You attract people who reflect the love and respect you have for yourself, and you let go of those who drain or diminish you. You become less afraid of being alone because you realize that you are never truly alone. You always have yourself. And that relationship, the one you have with yourself, is the most important one you will ever have. This shift also impacts how you handle challenges and setbacks. When you love yourself, you become your own greatest ally. Instead of berating yourself for mistakes or failures, you offer yourself support and encouragement. You understand that your worth is not tied to your successes or achievements. You are worthy of love no matter what. This inner love gives you the resilience to keep going, to keep growing, and to keep growing, and to keep learning. One of the most profound realizations that comes with being your own source of love is the understanding that love is not something you get, it's something you give. And the more you give it to yourself, the more you have to give to others. This kind of love is not based on need or expectation, but on the pure joy of sharing from a place of abundance. You stop loving out of fear or dependency, and instead you love freely and without attachment. This is the kind of love that heals, transforms, and uplifts not only you, but everyone around you. Ultimately, being your own source of love means recognizing that you are enough, exactly as you are, right here, right now. It means honoring your own journey and trusting that you are on the path to becoming the best version of yourself. It means forgiving yourself for past mistakes and letting go of the harsh self-judgment that keeps you from fully embracing who you are. And it means opening your heart to the endless possibilities that come when you live from a place of love, true, unconditional, self-generated love. Stop giving your power away. This concept is incredibly important and yet often overlooked. Many of us live our lives constantly relinquishing our personal power to others, whether we realize it or not. This happens every time we allow someone else to dictate how we feel, how we think, or how we see ourselves. It happens when we seek approval, validation, or love from external sources instead of realizing that all of those things already exist within us. When we talk about giving our power away, it means allowing external circumstances, people, or situations to control our emotions and actions. It means living in reaction to what others think, say, or do, instead of leading from our own center, where our true strength resides. It often manifests in subtle ways. For instance, you might find yourself in a relationship where you are constantly trying to make the other person happy at the expense of your own happy. You may bend over backward to please them, altering your behavior to avoid conflict or gain their approval. Or maybe at work you remain silent when your ideas are dismissed or when someone else takes credit for your work. In these situations, you're giving your power away because you are placing someone else's feelings, judgments, or desires above your own. The problem with this is that when you rely on external sources for validation, happiness, or approval, you are essentially saying that your well-being depends on forces outside your control. This sets you up for a life of emotional instability. If someone doesn't give you the response you want, you feel deflated. If circumstances don't go your way, you're thrown off balance. Living this way robs you of your inner peace and sense of self-worth because you are handing over the reins of your life to other people. Taking back your power begins with a crucial realization: you are the only one responsible for your emotions, actions, and experiences. No one can make you feel anything unless you allow them to. This doesn't mean that people or situations won't impact you. Of course they will. But it means that you have the power to choose how you respond. You can choose to remain grounded in your own truth, regardless of what happens around you. This is true empowerment. One of the key reasons people give away their power is the fear of rejection. We are often so afraid of being disliked, abandoned, or judged that we contort ourselves to fit the expectations of others. We may stay in unhealthy relationships or tolerate disrespect because we fear losing the connection, not realizing that in doing so we lose ourselves. This fear keeps us small and dependent, constantly seeking external approval to feel secure. The irony is that the more you seek approval from others, the more you end up feeling powerless. That's because you can never truly control how others will react or feel about you. If your self-worth is tied to how others treat you, you'll always be at their mercy. Instead, true power comes from within. It comes from learning to approve of yourself, to validate your own worth, and to love yourself regardless of external circumstances. A critical step in reclaiming your power is to start recognizing the situations where you give it away. It might be helpful to ask yourself, where in my life am I giving away my power? It could be in your personal relationships, at work, or even in how you view your own self-image. When you pinpoint the areas where this happens, you can start to address the root cause. Often the root cause lies in old, limiting beliefs. Many of us grew up believing that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. We were conditioned to seek validation from parents, teachers, or peers, and as a result, we internalize the belief that we need external approval to feel good about ourselves. But this belief is false. Your worth is inherent. You are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you do, what others think of you, or what you achieve. As you begin to challenge these old beliefs, you'll realize that you no longer need to depend on others to feel powerful or secure. Instead, you can cultivate an inner strength that no one can take away from you. This process starts with self-awareness and self-love. It requires learning to listen to your own voice, to honor your own needs, and to make choices that align with your true self, even if others disapprove. Another critical aspect of taking back your power is setting boundaries. Boundaries are a way of protecting your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. They are an essential tool for maintaining your personal power. When you don't set boundaries, you open the door for others to take advantage of your kindness, manipulate your emotions, or dictate your actions. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out or being selfish. It means respecting yourself enough to say no when something doesn't serve your highest good. When you stop giving your power away, you become the author of your own life. You are no longer a passive participant, reacting to whatever life throws at you or bending to the will of others. Instead, you make conscious, empowered choices based on your own values, needs, and desires. This is a profound shift. You begin to live life on your own terms, and as a result, your relationships become healthier and more fulfilling because they are based on mutual respect, not dependency. As you grow into this new sense of empowerment, you will notice that you feel more grounded, confident, and at peace. You'll no longer need external validation to feel good about yourself because you will have cultivated a deep sense of inner worth. This doesn't mean you won't value relationships or the opinions of others, but you will no longer rely on them for your sense of self. You will know that no matter what happens outside of you, the love and power you hold within are always enough. In conclusion, taking back your power is about recognizing that you are the creator of your own experience. It's about no longer seeking approval or happiness from others, but finding it within yourself. When you stop giving your power away, you open the door to a life of true freedom, where your choices, emotions, and sense of self are no longer tied to external circumstances. You become the powerful, self-assured individual you were always meant to be. Healing the patterns that keep you stuck is one of the most transformative steps you can take on the journey to personal freedom. These patterns often run deep, forming the unseen foundation of how we live, think, and interact with the world. Many of them stem from childhood experiences, societal conditioning, or past trauma, and over time, they become so ingrained in our lives that we start to believe they define who we are. But the truth is, you are not your patterns. You have the power to heal and release them, allowing yourself to live a life that is more aligned with your true self, free from the constraints of outdated beliefs and behaviors. At the heart of these patterns are our core beliefs, those deeply held ideas about ourselves, others, and the world that shape how we perceive and react to life. These beliefs often operate on a subconscious level, meaning we may not even be fully aware of them, yet they impact every aspect of our experience. For example, if you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, you may have developed a belief that you are only worthy of love if you meet certain standards or expectations. This belief, in turn, may create a pattern of overworking, people-pleasing, or self-sacrifice, all in an attempt to earn the love and approval you desire. Similarly, if you experience rejection or failure at a young age, you may have developed a belief that you are not good enough or that success is unattainable. This can lead to a pattern of self-sabotage where you unconsciously undermine your own efforts to avoid the pain of potential failure. These patterns, while seemingly protective in nature, ultimately keep you stuck, preventing you from growing, thriving, and stepping into your full potential. Healing these patterns begins with awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. So the first step is to start paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. When you find yourself feeling stuck, ask yourself what belief is driving this feeling or behavior. This process of self-inquiry can be uncomfortable, as it often brings old wounds to the surface, but it is essential for breaking free from the patterns that have been holding you back. One common pattern that keeps many people stuck is the fear of failure or rejection. This fear often stems from past experiences where failure or rejection resulted in emotional pain. Over time, the mind develops a pattern of avoidance where you shy away from opportunities or challenges in order to protect yourself from potential disappointment. While this pattern may keep you safe in the short term, it also limits your growth and keeps you from achieving your dreams. Healing this pattern requires reframing your relationship with failure and rejection. Instead of seeing them as reflections of your worth, start to view them as opportunities for learning and growth. Remind yourself that every successful person has encountered failure, but what sets them apart is their ability to learn from it and keep moving forward. Another common pattern is the need for approval from others. This often manifests as people-pleasing or sacrificing your own needs in order to make others happy. This pattern is deeply rooted in the belief that your worth is determined by how others perceive you. Healing this pattern involves recognizing that your worth is inherent and does not depend on external validation. You are worthy simply because you exist. Start practicing self-approval by affirming your value regardless of how others respond to you. Set healthy boundaries and learn to say no without guilt. Over time, you will notice that as you stop seeking approval from others, you feel more empowered and free to live authentically. It's also important to acknowledge the role of trauma in shaping patterns that keep you stuck. Trauma, whether big or small, has a way of imprinting itself on the mind and body, creating patterns of thought and behavior that are designed to protect you from future harm. For example, if you experienced abandonment or betrayal in a past relationship, you might develop a pattern of mistrust or emotional detachment in future relationships. While this pattern may protect you from the risk of being hurt again, it also prevents you from experiencing the deep connection and intimacy you truly desire. Healing trauma-based patterns requires compassion and patience. It's important to give yourself the space to process and release the emotions tied to the trauma. Practices like therapy, journaling, and meditation can be incredibly helpful in this process, allowing you to gently heal the wounds that have been keeping you stuck. One of the most powerful tools for healing patterns is the use of affirmations, as advocated by Louise Hay. Affirmations are positive statements that help reprogram the subconscious mind, replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones. For example, if you have a pattern of self-doubt, you might use the affirmation, "I trust myself and my abilities." If you have a pattern of feeling unworthy, you might say, "I am deserving of love and success." By repeating these affirmations daily, you begin to shift your thought patterns and create new, healthier beliefs that support your growth and well-being. Another important aspect of healing patterns is practicing self-compassion. Often when we become aware of our negative patterns, we feel frustrated or ashamed. We may judge ourselves for being stuck or blame ourselves for not having overcome these issues sooner. But healing is not about perfection, it's about progress. Be gentle with yourself as you work through your patterns. Recognize that these patterns were developed as coping mechanisms to protect you at some point in your life, and they deserve to be met with kindness and understanding. As you practice self-compassion, you create a safe space for healing and growth to occur. Finally, it's essential to recognize that healing is a journey, not a destination. The patterns that keep you stuck did not form overnight, and they won't disappear overnight either. Healing requires consistent effort and a willingness to look inward, but the rewards are immeasurable. As you heal the patterns that have been holding you back, you will begin to experience more freedom, joy, and fulfillment in your life. You will no longer be bound by old fears, limiting beliefs, or outdated coping mechanisms. Instead, you will be free to create a life that aligns with your true desires, one that reflects the best version of yourself. In conclusion, healing the patterns that keep you stuck is a process of self-discovery, self-compassion, and transformation. By becoming aware of the limiting beliefs that drive these patterns, reframing your relationship with failure and rejection, practicing self-approval, and releasing trauma, you can break free from the cycles that have held you back. With time and patience, you will uncover the freedom and potential that have always been within you, waiting to be realized. Learning to trust yourself is a deeply empowering process, one that enables you to navigate life with confidence, clarity, and resilience. It's about cultivating a relationship with yourself that is rooted in self-belief, intuition, and an unwavering sense of inner knowing. Yet many people struggle with self-trust because throughout life, they've been conditioned to doubt themselves, their abilities, and their decisions. We live in a world where external voices, whether they come from family, society, or media, often drown out our inner voice. As a result, many of us grow up relying on external validation and approval, which weakens our ability to trust our own judgment. Relearning how to trust yourself is essential because it reconnects you to your authentic self, your true desires, and your unique path. The first step in learning to trust yourself is acknowledging the influence of self-doubt. We all experience self-doubt at some point, but for some it becomes a persistent pattern that undermines every decision and action. This doubt can stem from past experiences where we may have felt wrong or been criticized for our choices. It can also arise from fear of making mistakes, fear of judgment, or fear of failure. These fears create a loop of uncertainty where we begin to question our own judgment and look to others for reassurance or guidance. However, it's important to understand that self-doubt is not inherently bad. In fact, it can serve as a signal that we need to pause and reflect before making a decision. The key is not to let self-doubt become paralyzing. Instead, we can use it as an opportunity to strengthen our trust in ourselves by checking in with our inner voice. Often when we are in doubt, it's because we are trying to reconcile what we feel inside with what we've been told is right or acceptable. Learning to trust yourself means giving more weight to your inner voice than to the opinions of others. It means understanding that no one knows what is best for you better than you do. To start trusting yourself, it's essential to get to know yourself on a deeper level. This requires self-reflection and honesty. Take time to understand your values, your strengths, your passions, and your goals. What truly matters to you? What makes you feel alive and fulfilled? When you have a strong sense of who you are, it becomes easier to trust yourself because you are grounded in your own truth. You no longer need to look outside for direction or validation because you know what aligns with your core values. Developing self-awareness is crucial in building self-trust because it helps you differentiate between your authentic voice and the voices of fear or conditioning. One effective way to cultivate this awareness is through journaling or meditation. These practices create space for you to connect with your inner self, to listen to your thoughts, feelings, and desires without judgment. In doing so, you begin to strengthen the connection between your conscious mind and your intuition, the deeper, wiser part of yourself that always knows the right path for you. Intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have when it comes to trusting yourself. Yet it's often overlooked or dismissed because it doesn't always conform to logic or rationality. Intuition is that gut feeling, that inner sense of knowing that transcends reason. It's the voice that tells you to take a leap of faith or to walk away from something that seems perfect on paper but doesn't feel right. Many of us have been taught to prioritize reason over intuition, but true self-trust involves listening to both. It's about allowing your intuition to guide you, even when you can't explain why it feels right. One of the challenges of trusting your intuition is that it doesn't always come with clear answers or guarantees. It requires you to take risks and to be comfortable with uncertainty. But here's the thing, trusting yourself doesn't mean that you will never make mistakes. It doesn't mean that every decision will be perfect or that everything will always go as planned. Trusting yourself means having faith in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, even when things don't turn out the way you expected. It's about knowing that no matter what, you are capable of learning, growing, and moving forward. Learning to trust yourself also means being willing to take responsibility for your choices. When you trust yourself, you stop blaming others or external circumstances for your situation. You recognize that you have the power to make decisions, to take action, and to create change in your life. This responsibility is liberating because it puts you in the driver's seat of your own life. You are no longer a passive participant waiting for others to guide or approve of your decisions. Instead, you become the author of your own story. Another important aspect of trusting yourself is letting go of the need for perfection. Many people struggle with self-trust because they set impossibly high standards for themselves. They believe that if they can't be perfect, they can't trust their decisions. But perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it only leads to frustration and self-doubt. Trusting yourself means embracing your imperfections and knowing that you are still worthy, capable, and enough. It means recognizing that making mistakes is part of the journey, and each mistake brings valuable lessons that help you grow stronger and wiser. Practicing self-compassion is vital in building self-trust. Too often, when we doubt ourselves or make a mistake, we criticize ourselves harshly. This self-criticism erodes our confidence and reinforces the belief that we can't be trusted. Instead, treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. When you make a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, remind yourself that you are human and humans are imperfect. Offer yourself forgiveness and the grace to try again. Self-compassion allows you to trust yourself even in moments of doubt or failure. Trusting yourself is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time and patience to develop. Start small by making decisions without seeking the approval of others. Trust your instincts in everyday situations, whether it's choosing what to eat, what to wear, or how to spend your time. Notice how it feels when you follow your own guidance, and observe how your confidence grows with each decision. As you build this muscle of self-trust, you will find that it becomes easier to trust yourself in bigger decisions as well. Over time, as you learn to trust yourself more fully, you will experience a profound shift in your life. You will feel more empowered, more confident, and more at peace. You will no longer be swayed by the opinions or expectations of others because you will know that you are the best authority on your own life. You will move through life with a sense of freedom and authenticity, making choices that align with your deepest values and desires. This is the ultimate gift of self-trust. It allows you to live a life that is truly your own. Practicing forgiveness is one of the most powerful and transformative acts you can undertake on your journey to healing and personal growth. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing the actions of others or allowing ourselves to be hurt again. However, true forgiveness is not about condoning wrongdoing, nor does it require reconciliation. It is about freeing yourself from the emotional burden that resentment, anger, and hurt place on your heart. When you practice forgiveness, you are ultimately choosing to let go of the pain and reclaim your peace of mind. Forgiveness begins with a shift in perspective. It requires recognizing that holding on to anger or resentment does not hurt the person who wronged you, it only harms you. Carrying these emotions weighs you down emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Studies have shown that prolonged resentment can lead to stress, anxiety, and health problems. When you forgive, you release yourself from this toxic emotional state and allow healing to begin. It is an act of self-love, a decision to prioritize your well-being over the need to hold on to the past. A common barrier to forgiveness is the belief that forgiving someone means saying that what they did was acceptable. This is not the case. Forgiveness does not diminish the severity of the hurt or dismiss the wrong that was done. Instead, it acknowledges the pain but chooses not to let it define you or control your future. It's about releasing the hold that the past has on your present. Forgiveness is about finding freedom from the emotional chains that keep you stuck in a cycle of hurt and blame. Another important aspect of forgiveness is understanding that it is a process, not a one-time event. Depending on the depth of the hurt, forgiveness can take time, and that is okay. It's normal to revisit feelings of pain or anger, even after you have made the decision to forgive. The key is to remain committed to the process, continually choosing to let go of resentment each time it resurfaces. With time and persistence, the emotional charge of the hurt will begin to fade, and you will find more space for peace and compassion in your heart. It's also essential to recognize that forgiveness is not just for others, it is for yourself as well. In fact, one of the most challenging yet necessary forms of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Many people carry deep feelings of guilt, shame, or regret for past mistakes or decisions. They may judge themselves harshly for things they wish they had done differently. This self-blame can be just as damaging as the resentment we hold toward others. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of self-punishment, preventing us from moving forward and fully embracing our potential. Forgiving yourself is crucial because without it, you remain locked in a state of self-recrimination. Self-forgiveness is about acknowledging your humanity and understanding that everyone makes mistakes. It's about extending the same compassion and understanding to yourself that you would offer to a loved one. When you practice self-forgiveness, you allow yourself to heal, to learn from your past, and to grow into the person you are meant to be. You give yourself permission to release the weight of guilt and step into a more empowered, self-accepting version of yourself. To practice forgiveness, whether for others or yourself, it can be helpful to start by examining the beliefs and emotions that are holding you back. What is it that you are holding on to and why? Are you clinging to a sense of justice, waiting for an apology, or hoping for acknowledgement from the other person? While these desires are valid, it's important to recognize that forgiveness is not contingent on receiving anything from the person who hurt you. It's a personal choice you make for your own well-being, regardless of whether the other person is remorseful or even aware of the impact they had on you. In many cases, the person who hurt you may never apologize or take responsibility for their actions. But waiting for their apology or acknowledgement only keeps you tied to the past. When you forgive, you take back your power. You decide that your peace of mind is more important than waiting for justice or validation. You free yourself from the need for external resolution and instead find resolution within yourself. One powerful tool for cultivating forgiveness is empathy. When we are hurt, it's easy to view the person who wronged us as an enemy, someone who intentionally caused us harm. But often people act out of their own wounds, fears, or limitations. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help us see that their actions were not necessarily a reflection of our worth, but of their own inner struggles. Empathy allows us to see the humanity in others, even those who have caused us pain. It opens the door to understanding and compassion, which are essential components of forgiveness. Another important aspect of forgiveness is setting boundaries. Forgiving someone does not mean that you must allow them back into your life or continue to tolerate harmful behavior. You can forgive someone and still choose to distance yourself from them. In fact, setting healthy boundaries is a form of self-respect and self-protection. It ensures that you do not allow the same hurt to happen again, while also preserving your inner peace. Boundaries are a way of asserting that, while you forgive, you will not compromise your well-being. It's also helpful to use affirmations or positive statements to support your forgiveness practice. Affirmations such as "I release the past and embrace peace," or "I choose to forgive and free myself from anger," can reinforce your decision to let go. Repeating these affirmations daily can help reframe your mindset and create new emotional patterns that support healing and forgiveness. Lastly, practicing forgiveness requires patience and kindness with yourself. It's not an easy journey, and there may be moments when you feel like you've taken a step backward. In those moments, remind yourself that forgiveness is not about being perfect. It's about making a conscious effort to release the pain and choose peace over and over again. Each time you choose forgiveness, you take another step toward emotional freedom and inner peace. In conclusion, practicing forgiveness is an act of liberation. It allows you to release the emotional burdens of the past and create space for healing, love, and joy in your life. Whether it's forgiving others or yourself, forgiveness empowers you to reclaim your inner peace and move forward with a lighter heart. It is a powerful gift you give to yourself, one that leads to deeper self-awareness, emotional resilience, and true freedom. Embracing self-sufficiency with love is one of the most empowering and transformative things you can do for yourself. It means recognizing that your happiness, fulfillment, and peace of mind come from within and are not dependent on external sources or other people. In a world where we are often conditioned to seek validation, love, and approval from outside ourselves, this concept may seem challenging. Yet, the path to true self-sufficiency begins with understanding that you are your own greatest source of strength, love, and joy. Cultivating this sense of inner sufficiency allows you to experience life with a deep sense of security, freedom, and contentment, regardless of external circumstances. The journey towards self-sufficiency with love begins with a simple yet profound realization: you are enough as you are. For many people, feelings of inadequacy, fear, or unworthiness can cause them to seek validation and love from others. They may believe that they need to achieve certain things, meet certain standards, or receive approval from others in order to feel complete. This is often rooted in societal conditioning, past traumas, or experiences that have taught them they are not worthy unless they meet specific expectations. But when you embrace self-sufficiency, you let go of the need for external validation and recognize that your worth is inherent. You are deserving of love, happiness, and success simply because you exist. One of the most important aspects of self-sufficiency is developing a deep and loving relationship with yourself. This means treating yourself with the same care, compassion, and understanding that you would offer a close friend or loved one. It requires you to become your own best support system, someone you can rely on during both the highs and lows of life. When you love yourself unconditionally, you no longer depend on others to fill emotional voids or provide reassurance. You begin to trust that you can meet your own needs, soothe your own pain, and celebrate your own victories. Self-love is the foundation upon which self-sufficiency is built. Self-sufficiency also involves cultivating a strong sense of self-awareness. This means understanding your own needs, desires, strengths, and weaknesses. Often people look to others to define who they are or what they should do with their lives, but embracing self-sufficiency means looking inward for guidance. It's about tuning into your own intuition, listening to your inner voice, and honoring your truth. When you are in touch with your authentic self, you no longer feel the need to conform to societal expectations or seek approval from others. You know who you are and what is right for you, and you trust yourself to make decisions that align with your highest good. Learning to rely on yourself emotionally is another key component of self-sufficiency. This doesn't mean isolating yourself or rejecting relationships. In fact, healthy relationships are essential to a fulfilling life. But it does mean that your emotional well-being is not dependent on the actions, opinions, or validation of others. When you are emotionally self-sufficient, you can experience love, joy, and connection with others, but you don't rely on them to make you feel complete. You know that no one else is responsible for your happiness, that responsibility belongs to you. When you take ownership of your emotional state, you become empowered to create the life and relationships you truly desire. Self-sufficiency also involves setting healthy boundaries. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear rejection, disapproval, or conflict. But when you embrace self-sufficiency with love, you realize that your worth is not determined by how much you give to others or how well you meet their expectations. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It means honoring your own needs, protecting your energy, and refusing to engage in relationships or situations that are harmful to your well-being. By establishing clear boundaries, you send a message to yourself and others that you are responsible for your own happiness and that you will not compromise your self-worth for the sake of pleasing others. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate self-sufficiency with love is through self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, constantly judging ourselves for not being good enough, smart enough, or successful enough. But self-sufficiency with love requires you to replace this inner critic with a voice of kindness and understanding. It means recognizing that you are human and that imperfection is part of the human experience. When you make mistakes or face challenges, practice offering yourself the same compassion that you would give to someone you love. This creates a sense of inner security, knowing that you are capable of weathering life's storms with grace and resilience. Another important aspect of self-sufficiency is the ability to find fulfillment and joy in your own company. Many people fear being alone because they equate solitude with loneliness. But self-sufficiency means recognizing that you can be whole and complete on your own. It's about learning to enjoy your own presence, whether through hobbies, creative pursuits, or quiet reflection. When you are comfortable being alone, you realize that your happiness is not dependent on the presence of others. You can cultivate joy, peace, and contentment within yourself, regardless of your external circumstances. Embracing self-sufficiency also means letting go of the need to control or fix others. When we rely on others for our happiness or self-worth, we may feel a compulsion to change them in order to meet our needs. But this only leads to frustration and disappointment because we cannot control other people's actions or choices. Self-sufficiency with love means accepting others as they are without trying to mold them into what we think they should be. It also means recognizing that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth. By releasing the need to control others, you free yourself to focus on your own growth and well-being. Ultimately, self-sufficiency with love is about cultivating a deep sense of inner security. It's about knowing that no matter what happens in life, you have the strength, resilience, and resources within you to navigate challenges and create the life you desire. It's about trusting yourself, loving yourself, and being fully present in your own life. When you embrace self-sufficiency, you stop looking to the outside world to fill the gaps in your heart. Instead, you become your own source of love, happiness, and fulfillment. This is not only empowering but also liberating because it allows you to move through life with confidence and peace, knowing that everything you need is already within you. Self-sufficiency is not about isolation or self-reliance in a rigid sense. It's about balance, being able to stand on your own 2 feet while still allowing yourself to give and receive love in healthy, authentic ways. When you embrace self-sufficiency with love, you create space for deeper, more meaningful connections because you are no longer approaching relationships from a place of neediness or dependence. Instead, you enter relationships as a whole, complete person, ready to share your love without losing yourself in the process. In conclusion, embracing self-sufficiency with love is a journey toward reclaiming your personal power. It's about recognizing that your worth, happiness, and fulfillment come from within, and that you are capable of creating a life that is rich, joyful, and meaningful, independent of external circumstances. By cultivating self-love, self-awareness, emotional independence, and healthy boundaries, you can build a strong foundation of self-sufficiency that supports your growth and well-being throughout life.